Hey everybody, Arden here, and it is Tuesday, and it's December. I can't handle it. This year went by so fast, and that's good because we're going to talk about a hardcore topic today, which is 3 blind spots that are preventing you from having growth in your singing. So I asked in my original post when I was talking about what I was going to be talking about today on the live, and I asked and I said, are you doing everything that you can for your singing? And then I said, I bet you're not. And I know that probably comes off as like judgy and, kind of like, right? But I say that with like zero judgment whatsoever because I've been there. I've been there too. And, doing everything you can for your singing and to achieve your goals, that doesn't always mean what we think it means. And if you feel like you are doing everything that you can for your singing and that you're not actually having the results that you want, if it feels like you're close, you're one step away from getting the sound that you want whenever you want it. You feel like you're one performance away from really feeling like you just own it every time. You're one step away from that big break. I really, really, really want you to pay attention today, because today we're going to talk about something that everyone can relate to. And it doesn't matter where you are on your singing journey. It doesn't matter if you're somebody who's been studying for a year or two, or if you've been studying for 12 years and you're way far along on the professional path. No matter where you are on your singing journey, one of these things is bound to pop up for you. So I want to say hi to people who are here. Hi, Melina, it's so good to see you. Elliot, nice for you to join us. I know you just joined the group recently. David, hello. We'll see who else comes into the fold as we talk about the discussion. So everyone has goals, targets that they have for growing their voice and growing their singing career. But sometimes, like I was saying, there are blind spots that are keeping us from moving forward. And maybe you couldn't put your finger on it as to why you're not moving forward in the way that you want, why you're not getting closer to the target. If you feel like you're just kind of spinning around the drain and you're just kind of doing the same things and you're getting the same results and you're kind of frustrated and you know that something's up because you're not getting the results you want, but you also don't know why. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, which are these blind spots that are preventing you from growing in your career and getting to that next level that you really want to be at, that you don't feel that you're at right now. So first, let's do a really honest check-in. A really honest check-in with yourself. And that's what I always like to do in this group, which is get real. Like no sugarcoating, no excuses, like let's get real. So let's check in. Are you in the mindset of just doing enough to get by in your singing? And what I mean by that is like, are you kind of phoning it in? Are you actually practicing, or do you tell yourself you're going to practice and then maybe you do, maybe you don't, you watch TV or whatever, or maybe you're just so busy in the busy work of your day-to-day life and you're not carving out time. So are you in the mindset of just getting by, to doing enough to get by in your singing, or are you in the place where every single thing that you do, you're bringing your heart and your soul and your intention to where there's such a strong intention behind all the things that you do that then there's actually movement and motion. So what I mean by that is like when you practice, when you listen to new music to source new repertoire, when you go online to explore new opportunities or auditions or gigs, when you send out emails to gigs to try to book gigs if you're in a band or you're a singer-songwriter. If you're a writer, a songwriter, as well as a singer, when you have co-writing sessions, when you're creating, when you rehearse, when you do all of these things, are you very intentional about how you want to show up for those things? Are you really intentional about how you want to interact? What kind of heart intention you want to bring to all of those little things? So that's what I'm talking about here when I say, are you doing enough? when you rehearse, are you doing so with the intention of connecting with every person who's on stage with you? When you warm up, are you doing so with the outcome of expressing the kind of technique and artistry that you're committed to? Or are you just blazing through the warm up? Like, are you just checking the box off the list? Okay, I did my exercises, I did my warm up, check. Or are you actually using that time to connect to the kind of technique and the kind of artistry that you're committed to? Are you practicing that? Or are you practicing blaze through, me, ma, check, right? I've been there. Trust me, I say this with zero judgment. I've been there, I've done that, and I know that it doesn't work. It's the checking boxes thing without any real intention or connection to what you're doing. Even if it's something as like banal as emailing club bookers to book gigs, or if you're an opera singer, putting together your applications for young artist programs, you know, getting your resume and applications together. And I know that sounds kind of like, well, how can you bring your heart and soul to like booking gigs? The energy that you bring to something shows through to those on the other side who are receiving it, and it has an effect. So, you know, what most people think when I say, are you, you know, doing everything you can for your singing? And a lot of people say, what do you mean? Of course I am. I'm working my ass off. You know, I'm clocking in at my day job. I have 2 day jobs, and I'm organizing everything. You know, I'm my own manager. I'm my own agent. I'm my own booker, right? I'm practicing and I'm rehearsing, and I'm the one who sets everything up, and I'm going to see my accompanist. And, you know, I'm not just dipping my toe in the water. I'm doing everything. And so, you know, that's how you feel. But that person who is thinking that they're doing everything, right? They're checking boxes. What it's really about is where your intention is. Where's your heart when you're doing these things? You may have a lot going on, right? You could be recording a record. You could be setting up tons of auditions, right? I mean, so much that you feel so busy and you feel really good because you're busy doing. And it might be hard to understand what about that is holding you back in your singing, because you feel like, no, I'm doing so much. I'm not holding myself back, like I'm doing everything. But hear me out. When you're not showing up with the right intention, when the right intention is not behind it, when the right heart, when your whole heart, when your vulnerability, when the truth of you is not behind it, when you don't have the right mindset behind it, all those little tasks that you're doing, that you're killing yourself to do for your singing, for your career, they're not going to have the same results as if you have in mind where you want this to go, what you want to have happen, your why. Why are you doing this? I'm pretty sure you're not doing it to check boxes, right? Most of the time we get into this because we have something to say. We want to create something. We have artistry that matters to us. The best way that we know how to communicate the truth of our own human experience is with our voice. That intention, when you're just checking boxes, does not come through because you're checking boxes, because you're not connected to it at all. So when you're filling out the young artist applications, or when you're emailing clubs to book, when you're practicing, if you're not connected to that intention, that why, then all of those little tasks that you're doing are just that, they're tasks. And they're not going to bring you forward, move you forward towards getting to that next level, towards being and living this dream that you are working so hard to do. You know, otherwise you're just on autopilot. You're checking boxes. Yep, I emailed those clubs. Yep, I booked those gigs. Yep, I practiced for 45 minutes. But when you do that, you're going to get a very, very different result than if you actually think about, you know, those girls that you want to reach with that new song of yours, who are feeling and suffering just like you, to accept themselves, who will hope to find some kind of connection and hope through your music, right? If that's part of your why, if you're somebody who's a songwriter and you're very deeply connected to a mission and a purpose. Say you had a lot of, issues of non-feeling accepted and not feeling beautiful, and that's your issue. That's Lady Gaga. You think about Lady Gaga. That's her why, is to reach those people. And everything she does, I'm pretty sure, has that intention behind it. She's not checking boxes. That's why she's been so successful. Like in practicing, when you're practicing, or even when you're emailing clubs, whatever box it is that you're trying to check. Oh, I got to do another this, or I got to do another that. It's going to have a whole new life now, because if you're bringing your why and your intention behind it, it's not going to be just a box. It's not going to be just a box. The point I'm trying to make, you guys, is how you do something matters. It matters, because what you're eventually measured on is an accumulation of how you did all those little things. So if you wait to bring your heart and your intention only to the performance, you're going to be waiting a long time, because those performances are going to be few and far between. You don't win the game on the field. It's a sports analogy, right? Anybody who played Little League, you don't win the game on the field. You win it on how you showed up in your practice, in all the little things that you did to get to that game. And this is the same way. And so you have to be really, really intentional with all the little things by saying, okay, what's my outcome? What's my outcome? So if my outcome is that I want to be performing all over the world, okay, well then what am I really trying to achieve in doing this? And then what's my why? How do I want to feel when I'm doing this? Asking these questions, it takes like 30 seconds before you do something, and it changes the whole game. The whole game. Because now you're connected. You're connected to your why. You're connected to the outcomes that you want to achieve, right? You're not emailing club bookers to book a gig because you want to play at some crappy club on a Friday night. That's not why you're doing it. You're doing it for any other of these numbers of like heart-centered reasons, because you want to reach people with your message if you're a message-based songwriter, or because you know how amazing it feels like if you're an opera singer to be able to find that just wall of sound that comes up through your body and comes out, and it's like this connection to God, and it feels amazing, and you know that when somebody else hears that from you, they're taken to that place too. That's why you're filling out the Young Artist form. That's why. So get connected to that. It's all about how you show up. And are you doing enough just to get the job done? Are you just checking those boxes? Or are you doing something that you can be proud of afterwards? So how you show up is everything, because it affects everything. So if you show up with the right intention and thoughtfulness behind what you're doing, and again, it takes 30 seconds to check in with that, then you're going to see a different result on the other end, even when it comes to tasks that might feel, banal to you. If practicing is hard. I talked about this in a live a couple weeks ago. If you get connected to your why, that practice takes on a whole nother meaning. Just checking the boxes of like, booking the clubs, or I should write a song. I know I need to be writing every day. Okay, get connected. When you show up with this intention and this thoughtfulness, then you're going to start to see how things change really quickly. So that's really the first thing about this blind spot, blind spots. This can be a really big blind spot where you feel like you're doing so much and you're accomplishing so much, but like nothing's really changing, because how you're showing up to do things is not from a place of intention and heart-centered focus. So the second thing that I find that can be a really big blind spot is what I call like the scattered singer. So I see singers all the time, and this has to mainly do with training and strategy. I see singers a lot of the time, trying like so many different things when it comes to their technique and when it comes to the strategy of their career, you know, finding their niche, getting some traction, and they're getting totally scattered. And so it's like, oh, I'm going to do this singing program and this online thing. And then, no, I'm going to do this teacher over here. And it's like, and it even comes to that when it comes to strategy with like career stuff. Oh, you know, this management, this is the manager that I need. No, and I need to do social media strategy. And it's like, I mean, you can feel my energy going like, as I talk about it. And it's really, really the scatteredness is really preventing them from making an impact with their singing and their voice and their career. And so what happens is they get burnt out. I don't know if any of you have experienced this or you are experiencing this at all, but it's like you're so passionate and you're so committed to this dream and you're going to try everything. You're going to try everything because something's got to work. This teacher, this program, this manager, this social media strategy, this publicist, like, you know, this program, this master's program, if you're an opera singer, this summer festival, whatever it is, it's like you're throwing energy and money here and over there and like everywhere. And there's 12 different things that you're doing. And, you know, your energy and your attention is going out into 12 different directions. And it's daunting, because you can really get into burnout mode really fast that way, especially when all that stuff, all those 12 million things that you're doing are not getting the results that you want. And so you feel busy, but you're not actually moving forward. And, you know, you're also kind of falling into the trap of you know, pulling the best of this together and trying to put this and trying to like pull that from over here and like putting this together. And if I do that and I get the best of this and that and this and that, like it's gotta work. It's gotta work. And then you're trying to like master all these different things and schools of thoughts and strategies and technique. And it's just like not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You will get burned out so quickly doing that. And it's confusing because things often contradict. And when something feels like it's not really working, then you don't stick with it. And so you're off it, and then you try into the next thing, and you're not like staying with it long enough to even know. And you're doing so many different things. It's like, how do you even know if something does start to bring you some results? Like, how do you even know which thing it was? Because you have no way of measuring it, right? So if you're trying to master it all at once without the foundation of a solid base, it's not sustainable. It will burn you out. And so many singers like stunt their growth in this way on their journey to being successful, because they get in this rut with all of these things and they give up on something too soon, like I was saying, or they allow well-intentioned people to create some doubt in their head and pull them off the path that they're on. So it's like you start working, you know, with a new manager, and then all of a sudden some other singer is like, oh, you know, this experience with that manager and so many things, and then you start to doubt, and so then you don't stay the course because you start to get worried, because you start to see things that maybe are making you concerned, and so then you cut and run from that manager. And the thing about that is then you're like constantly starting over, whether it be with teachers or programs or with a new band. You know, it can even manifest in that. It's like, no, this is it. This is the band. I've got all these great cats who are playing with me. And then you start to get rolling with it. And all of a sudden, you know, you do a show or two and like it didn't really go the way you wanted because that was going to be the solution. And again, it's like strategies scattered in 12 different places. And it's just really hard to build a foundation that way that's going to serve you. And I'll tell you this, in my opinion, you cannot be a successful singer or a successful anything really, unless you're focused on exactly where you're going and staying the path and doing exactly what you need to do to achieve that outcome. And in my opinion, that requires picking that one strategy that's going to best serve you depending on what your unique, you know, issues and talents are, picking that one strategy that's going to build that foundation on first. You do that first. You build the foundation first. Become a master at that foundation before you add on anything else or move on to anything else. Because at the end of the day, the manager, the band, the this, the that, like all these 12 different directions that you're trying to like shore yourself up and bring yourself success faster. None of that matters. None of it. If the foundation isn't rock solid first. It's, I've said this before, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. No, pigs aren't bad. I mean, pigs can be really cute, but you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. The most important thing is to pick a strategy that gives you that foundation. Do that first. Build the foundation, master it, and don't add anything else until you do, because everything else that you add onto that foundation will be shooting you up into the stars once that foundation is built. Without it, you're just going to be going in 12 different directions, kind of how you might be feeling now. So here's the question I get a lot, which is, okay, well, how do I know if the strategy I'm using works? Like, how do I know if it's a good strategy? And, singers are all like kind of stunted and held up by throwing all this spaghetti on the wall, trying all these strategies, and it makes it really hard to know what's working, like I said a minute ago. And so, like, if you don't even have a way of knowing what's working, how do you even know if you should abandon a strategy that you've been on? Because you're doing like all these different things. And so my advice, my opinion is, the best thing to do is to pick a strategy that has proven results behind it. Proven results behind it. Like, numbers don't lie. And, so what I mean by that is, like, first you have to know what's your outcome that you want for your voice and your career. What is that? Be really clear about what kind of singer you want to be and what kind of career you want and what is the outcome of that career. And is it just that you want to be famous? Because I can think of a hell of a lot of easier ways to become famous than to do this. It's a hard path that we're on. Do you have a message? Is that what you ultimately want? Is that why you want to be able to make an impact with your voice and be an amazing singer? Because you know that using your voice in this way will enable you to reach and inspire people who need you and who need this message. Is that why you're doing this? Is that the outcome that you want? Is it just that you want to make a lot of money? Because again, there are a lot of easier ways to make a ton of money than in this industry. And there are also like a lot of ways to lose a ton of money in this industry if you make choices that are not aligned, and then suffer the psychological and the emotional consequences of all of that, right? So getting like super clear on what you want, and also getting really clear on how you want to be successful. Not just what the success looks like on the outside, I want to be selling out arenas, I want to be singing at the Met, like whatever it is, Broadway. Not just the what, but how do you want to be successful? And what does that success look like and feel like on the inside to live that? Like, how you want to be successful is so very important and so very different than what the success is on the outside. So like, what I mean by that is, how do you want to feel? And the answer cannot just be good. Do you want to feel peaceful when you sing? Do you want to feel whole in yourself? Do you want to not be second guessing yourself? Do you want to not be, like a leaf in the wind for critics? Do you want to have that self-agency and that self-trust? Do you want to feel authentic? Because you can get real successful being the pawn of a record label if you get that shot, but you may not feel peaceful and you may not be able to be authentic in that machine, right? So how do you want to be successful? How do you want it to be for you? Do you want to feel free? Do you want to feel powerful? Do you want to feel authentic? Like, all of that is so important. So get real clear about how you want to be successful. And then pick a strategy that builds you a foundation to get those outcomes. If you are working with teachers or managers, or doing, if you're an opera singer doing certain young artist programs or summer festivals, or if you're an opera, or if you're a Broadway singer, you know, some of these sort of like pay to play casting showcases or whatever, right? It's like, if you don't feel that that strategy, those things are building you the foundation to not just give you the tools to have the outside trappings of the success you want, you know, successful records, singing in major opera companies, being on Broadway, whatever it is. But if they also need to be aligned with how you want to be successful. And so making sure that whatever strategy that you are employing is aligned with that. And if it's not, then get rid of it. Because there's nothing worse than being successful in a way that doesn't feel aligned with you, where you don't feel authentic. You know, I don't know why this just came into my head, but I think of Ricky Martin, who was like in the closet the whole time, and he was the pawn of his record label, who was telling him, no, you can't come out. You cannot be a Latin man who's gay in the pop world. You cannot. And, you know, it wasn't aligned. And so is he still making records and like touring big and doing stuff today? No, because he didn't get that lesson until much later on, when he was just over it and didn't want to be a part of that machine anyway. And so, you know, it's really important to know the how, not just the what, so that you can pick a strategy that aligns for the long haul, so you can stay the course in the career. And also, you know, picking a strategy that's simple. It might still be a lot of work, hard work. This is hard work. Nobody's gonna, you know, nobody's gonna tell you any different, but it can be hard work, but simple, with steps to follow and a clear path, so that you don't feel like a turtle on your back, like having no idea to get from where you are right now to where you want to go. Because, you know, a lot of people can hide in activities that are not getting them any closer to the outcome that they want. You know, it's like, oh, I'm posting a new cover each week on social media. Okay, that's the strategy. But then maybe 200 people see it if you're lucky. And those videos are not going to go viral because that foundation hasn't been built, because the intention isn't there. The mastery doesn't exist yet. And so those things that those are the very things that give a cover the best shot at actually going viral. But if you're just doing it, it's like, I'm just posting covers, that's the new strategy. It's, you know, I'm gonna post a new cover every week. Like, don't waste your time. Do not waste your time if that foundation hasn't been built, if that mastery hasn't been built, if the intention isn't there, and if that posting those videos are not 100% aligned with how you want to get successful. So you have to be able to sort of measure the outcome and the result of the activity you're doing by those metrics. And that's how you know if your strategy and what you're doing is working and is the right path to keep going down. You know, so it's pretty easy to spot when you think about it, and you guys can do this in your own time, and I encourage you to do it, which is go back and look at the last 3 months, let's say. I mean, you can pick a good time frame, but 3 to 6 months is usually a good time frame. So go back and look at the last 3 months of your singing. So if you're a recording artist, here's the questions you're going to ask yourself. Are you recording? In the last 3 months, have you actually recorded? Are your records on Spotify, Pandora, etc.? Are you getting plays? How many spins are you getting? Are music licensing companies agreeing to represent your tracks to use them in film and TV? Are you booking gigs? When you do have gigs, are enough fans coming to your shows where you actually make money from each of them? Or are you paying to play, basically, by, you know, not having enough people show up so that you can't get a piece of the door, and you end up paying your musicians and it costs you money to play? Or are you actively paying to play, where you're paying the venue to pre-sell tickets and then you don't sell them back, right? So are you booking gigs, and then do enough fans come to your shows that actually clear you and you actually make some money? Ask yourself these questions. If you're an opera singer or if you're a Broadway singer, how many auditions did you go on in the last 3 months? How many times did you get a call back? How many times did you book the gig? Are you booking paid gigs? Are you booking equity or AGMA shows? Or are you, you know, paying to play, or just doing it for free to get exposure. Now look, that's not necessarily to say it's bad. Sometimes we need to do that. But if that's all that it's been and we're not up leveling, then the strategy needs to change. And so for everybody, the big question is like, what's the ratio of time you spend at your day job versus time you spend doing professional activities in your music career? And then ask yourself, what has the last 3 months cost me in terms of paying for whatever training that I've been doing? What have I been paying for? Look back at the last 3 to 6 months. What have I been paying for? Am I paying for producers and session musicians if I'm a recording artist? Am I paying for marketing and graphics and new website design, photos, album covers for my recordings, headshots if I'm, in the opera musical theater world? Am I paying for travel to auditions? Especially if you're in musical theater and opera, those auditions are pretty centrally located, East Coast, New York, Boston, West Coast, LA, sometimes Chicago. But if you don't live in one of those areas, are you paying for travel to get there for auditions? Do you have touring costs if you're in a band or session singer-songwriter? Are you paying for rehearsal space? Are you paying coaches? Are you paying vocal coaches? Are you paying accompanists to prepare for auditions if you're a classical singer or a Broadway artist? Ask yourself, what have my costs been monthly for the last 3 months? It's a great time to do this because it's the end of the year, right? So you can get a really good look. You could do it for the last year. Add it up. Don't be afraid to look at this stuff. Oftentimes we don't want to look at it because we're scared. We're not going to like what we see. But here's the thing, you guys. Nobody has ever made a change unless they were really uncomfortable and ready to. I don't know anybody who's ever made a big change about anything who's been like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm cool. And so you have to be willing to look. And so you can do a little easy accounting and easily determine if the stuff that you're doing has been effective. What is it costing you in time, in money, in resources? And most of all, are you getting the result that you want from all of this stuff? And if the answer is no, it's pretty clear. Strategy is not working, and it will be very obvious. All these questions I asked just now, they're just metrics. They're just metrics that are reflecting your foundation. Because all of these things, they're a direct result of how strong your foundation of your technique and your artistry and your mindset is. That's all it is. When you've built that foundation, when all those pieces are there equally as strong, the technique, the artistry, and the mindset, you will book shows that you audition for. Obviously, you're not going to book every one. That's unrealistic, but you will book the ones that you are right for. You will, and you won't be watching some other singer live your opportunity. When you have that foundation, you will connect with fans and be able to fill the venues that you play, and you will make money because you're doing that. Your recordings will get played. They will get spins because your uniqueness and your authentic artistry will actually shine through on those recordings, in those auditions, in those gigs. So your foundation is made up of a mastery of technique, artistry, and mindset. It's that simple. And with mastery of those three things, then you know how to make adjustments as your career ebbs and flows. It's like tweaking the dials on a soundboard. It's when you have mastery, when you have an engineer who's a true master, and levels start to go awry, he knows how to tweak those dials so that you can keep going in the session and have a productive session. Your career is the same way. Without mastery of the technique and the artistry and the mindset, you don't know where you're off. So you don't know how to adjust and tweak those dials, And so you want to be able to have that mastery because hopefully this is a long career for you. And the careers, they ebb and flow. That's just part of it. Being able to have that mastery to know which dials need tweaking, where it's like, oh, okay, like I feel it. I'm feeling strain. I'm feeling tension that I wasn't really feeling before. And I know that that's my technique. And I have that mastery and I know what I need to do to get back. Or if it's a mindset thing, like I'm recognizing that I'm not being accountable. I'm not doing my daily practice that allows me to tap into the authenticity of who I am. And so I'm not connecting with audiences. My recordings, they maybe they sound good like pitch wise and from a melodic standpoint, but I can tell I'm just not bringing it. So I'm disconnected. And so I'm going to go back to that mindset mastery because I have those tools, because I've built that foundation and I know how to tweak that dial to get back to that place. Because ultimately, that's how you're going to get where you want to go. And so really it just comes down to, are you just going in circles? Or are you getting closer to the outcome that you want to achieve? So look at the data. Look at the data of the last 3 months, 6 months of your career. It will tell you the truth, which I know may be hard to see, but you have to be brave enough to do that, to be brave enough to mix things up if you don't like what you see. Because I'll tell you the truth, sometimes the ego mind just really doesn't want to see it, and we just want to sugarcoat. And you guys, nobody ever got anywhere by sugarcoating and telling themselves that it's not as bad as it is. It's like the cancer patient being like, yeah, stage 4, but it'll be okay. Like 5% of people survive stage 4 cancer. And I'm taking herbs and it's like, you want to shake that person and be like, stage 4 cancer, do the freaking chemo, And so sugarcoating can be really dangerous. And so get to know what the numbers are telling you. Look at your career and your singing for the last 3 to 6 months. Are you making progress? Is the strategy working? Those things will tell you. Are you winning auditions? Are people coming and paying to see your shows? And if you look at all of that and you look at the reality of the data, for lack of a better word, and you see, oh, okay, well, I'm doing all these things and it's not really working, that's a great wake-up call. Don't see it as something bad. It's a great wake-up call. Because you're going to ask yourself then, okay, well then what needs to shift? And that, you guys, is the most powerful question. Because when you start to allow yourself to see what's not working, then you start to allow yourself to get resourceful, to do things, to bring yourself to what can work, and to changing the strategy and to changing up what you're doing so that you're not just continuing to circle the drain and get the same results. And so here's 4 important questions that you can ask yourself. If you see that things are not working and that you need a different strategy, here are the 4 questions that I want you to ask yourself. What's the outcome that I want to achieve? What is that? And by outcome, it can be something as simple as, I want to do 8 auditions a month and I want to book 2 of them or 1 of them or whatever it is. It could be, I want to finish my EP and I want to get 100,000 spins. Okay, so that's the target. But then the next question you need to ask is, what's my purpose? What's the why behind the outcome? Because outcomes are difficult to achieve when you don't know why you're doing them. And they become a lot easier to stay accountable and do the daily things that you need to do to be able to achieve that outcome, which may not be fun in of themselves. Booking, emailing bookers, for clubs, or filling out those young artist applications, or practicing your vocalises, right? But if you're connected to your why, it's back to the first thing we were talking about. If you're bringing your intention and your heart to it, it becomes a lot easier to do those things. And those are really the things that are going to move the needle. So what's my purpose? What's the why behind why I want this outcome? And then the third question is, what's not working in the 3 areas of my singing? What's not working in my technique? What's not working in my artistry? What's not working in my mindset, right? Is there something that I really do have mastery in, or do I need to, go back to school, so to speak, and find the strategy that's going to get me where I want to go, that's going to help me with that mastery so that I can get there? And then the question is, how do I build that foundation and that mastery with someone who knows how to tweak the dials so that I can get that foundation and that mastery within myself, so that I don't need to constantly be tethered to a teacher or a coach? Because I know a lot of classical singers who are like that, where it's like a security blanket, because they only feel like they can do it when they have their coach. But then that coach has not done their job. They haven't built you a foundation, given you that mastery within yourself. And it's not complicated. I mean, that's why I created the program that I do with singers, is to help you guys build this three-pronged foundation and to give you that reliable step-by-step process that's worked for so many other singers, who've come before. And so, if you're listening to this today and you're relating to a lot of it and you're saying, oh my God, that's me. Like, I'm so scattered and I'm burning myself out while still not getting the results at the level that I want. Or you're like, that's me. Like, I don't have a strategy and I'm doing all these things and they're so different and none of them are turning the tide towards the success that I know that I have in me, but I don't know why none of it's like working, and I'm burning myself out doing all of that stuff, and you're frustrated and you want something different. Then join the ranks of singers who have gotten on the phone with me, because I'm here to support you guys to get that clarity. That's all this is. What do you want? I'm here to help you get that clarity. What is it that I want? What do I need in order to get there? Why aren't my performances and my auditions getting me where I want to go? What's the missing piece? How do I build that foundation? That's what I do with singers. And I have singers who are actually on this call right now, who are in this live, who are in my program and who have worked with me. And I see Caitlin and I see Hunter, and you guys know the power of this. And this is what I do with singers. Without that foundation, you guys, there is nothing that, let me rephrase that. There is nothing you can't build on top of a solid foundation. Without it, it's like trying to build a career on quicksand. And so if this sounds like something that you want to do, if you want that foundation, dude, book a call with me. I'm going to put the link in the chat like I always do. It's a fantastic 45 minutes to an hour or so. We're going to spend talking about these things. What's not working with where you are? Where do you want to go? And why are you not there yet? And is it possible that the system that I've created to build this foundation could actually help you to remove these roadblocks and move you towards singing in a way that you have always wanted, to move you forward to that next level that you've been struggling to get at? So again, if this sounds like something that would be helpful to you and beneficial to you, and you don't want to feel stuck anymore, here is the link to my schedule. I'm going to put it in the chat. Book a call. You guys, the year's coming to an end. And when you look at the last year of your singing in your career, a lot of transformation can happen in a year. I see it in 2 months with the singers that I work with. And it does not take years to build this foundation. And so if you look at the last year of your singing and you're realizing that you're not really getting the results you want and the strategies aren't working, and you look at the metrics like we talked about, and how many gigs and how many spins and how many auditions, and like the numbers don't lie. And that's not to be hard on you, but that's just to say, like, take a good look, be honest and be real. And when you do that, if you want the help, book a call and we'll get you sorted. And if you're a fit to work with me, amazing. If you're not, that's okay too. I will still love on you in the group, but I want you to know that this is what I am here for. This is what my mission has been to become, is to help talented, amazing, dedicated singers like you guys realize the full potential of everything that you're capable of, which you can do. You can do when you have this foundation. So book a call, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys so that you don't have to go into the next year of your singing with all these same stupid issues. Get past them. Don't overthink it. All right, you guys. Bye.